wait a few minutes while others are still trying to connect. Good morning. We're just waiting for a few people to join. We'll start in a few minutes. I think we'll give it just one more minute, Dr. Sharon, and we can start. We'll just be admitting them as they come in.
Fantastic, not a problem. Good morning, everybody. You can just type in the chat where you are dialing in from, and Precious will get us going.
I see people are still struggling with the link, so we'll give it another minute. Okay, welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us today. I'll just hand over to Dr. Sharon, who will be leading the session for us today. Over to you, Doc.
Thank you very much, Precious, and a good morning to everyone joining. If you are in the morning time zone, if it's afternoon where you are, good afternoon. Such a delight to be meeting you all. If your bandwidth permits, can we have some proof of life, please? Open your cameras. Let's see your beautiful smiles from wherever you are dialing in from. So you can just switch on for a little bit, wave and say, hey, how's it? So we know we don't have a bot behind the screen. Come, Uche, how are you? Fireflies, AI notes. I see we have some AI notes. If you don't want the AI recording, you can just disable it on your side. Elizabeth, how's it? Paul, Brittany, Yasmin, Segan, Theophilus, come on, can we have some brave people with their faces on? Gozi, how's it? I see a picture there. Oh, host has stopped us from opening cameras. Host, please, some indulgence for a little bit. Just a little bit of camera permission to allow people to just say hello. Hey, Zakara. Hey, Edwin. How's it? Chima, Donna. Hey, Ibrahim, Brittany, yay, look at all these beautiful humans. Hello. And I see from the chat you're dialing in from all over our beautiful continent. I hope all is well where you are. Paul, hey, Dennis, how's it? Alero, I see you. Hello. Lebohang, hi. Charles, how are you? And my people from Kenya, hello. Dr. Ahmed, how are you? I see the smile there. Dennis Kwaku. Fantastic. You know, with the virtual world, we forget how to see one another and do a little bit of face-to-face and say, hey, to just smile. When we smile, the world smiles back at us. And what an apt way to start with our conversation today, which is dealing with resilience. So I am going to share my screen, and you will be able to get these slides from the team once we are done. So my name is Sharon Munyaka, and I am based in Johannesburg. I am delighted to be talking to you about building resilience for entrepreneurial success. So all of you are on this exciting journey, and Africa Tech Startup Forum has created the space where we are able to think together, where we are able to say, hang on, what is going on in my world, and how can I build a little bit more resilience to ensure I am successful? So at this point of the game, you don't have to keep your camera on. I will stay on so we can save a little bit of bandwidth, but a time will come where our facilitator in the background will switch on our cameras and we'll be able to have a conversation. Please feel free to use the chat function. Ask any questions that you have so we can have a robust conversation. If there are any comments that you have, maybe something sparks an idea, put it in the chat. This is a community that we're trying to build for us to think together as the continent. All right. So why are we having this conversation today? Part of the reason why it was important for us to talk about, resilience in building entrepreneurial success, we acknowledge that your entrepreneurial journey has a lot of things that are happening. It kind of feels like that roller coaster where you go up and you go down, you go up, you go down. Sometimes you feel like your insides are going to spill on your lap as you're on that train, on that carousel wheel, or whichever ride you would be getting onto. Each of us have an individual journey, so no journey is going to be the same with the next person, and that is okay. Your experience is your experience, so we are acknowledging that. So to support you in this journey, it's important for me, who is an industrial psychologist. So that's my day job, right? I'm an industrial psychologist. I am in the business of people. And what does that mean? It means I understand behavior at work. I help support people to say, who am I? What is my work? And how do I show up in the best way that I can? What is the best version that I can bring to the space that I am working, right? And challenges are a part of life. Yeah, it's like day and night. We have the day, but we also have the night. It's all part of nature. So how do we help you to stay focused? And that's the conversation today. And like I said, if there's anything that comes up for you as we're having the conversation, pop it into the chat. I'll try and keep an eye on it so we can have a good discussion. We're going to be together until 12 noon South African time. And in that period, we are going to do a little bit of input, but I also want to get a bit of understanding from you what the experience has been like. Okay. So let's start from understanding what is this resilience we speak about. I know in my world, some people say, oh, if I hear resilience one more time, I am going to scream. And why is that? Resilience is a term that has been used over and over and over and over and over again as people are trying to make sense of this world that we've woken up to. Some of you may recall the events of COVID, which is a recent event. Some of you might have other realities in your world which deal with maybe limited resources because the economy is just not performing in the way that it should. For some of you, maybe your reality is around wanting to have gone in a particular direction, but you needed to change route because of circumstances beyond your control. So what is this resilience? So resilience essentially is that process, right, where we try and adapt to difficult or challenging life experiences. Because life happens, life will be lifing. So you are going through this mental process where you feel discouraged. You start off, you're feeling motivated, you're geared up for success. Boom, something happens and you have to change course. Emotionally, you might feel so depleted and think, man, how do I start again? You might think my idea is foolproof, but then real life happens. Maybe someone else has a similar idea, and you realize that this amazing innovation that you are working on is actually not as amazing. So, how do you pull back up? How do you start smiling again? How do you find those cracks of light in the journey that you are going on? The definition also speaks about behavioral flexibility. Flexibility implies that we're able to take on different shapes and forms, right? So in our behavior, we all go through a different range of emotions. That's what makes us human. It's not always going to be sunshine and roses. There are days where it's going to be very, very challenging. There are days where we will feel discouraged. But do we have the behavioral and emotional flexibility to actually say, okay, I see what's going on here. I understand what is happening here. I need to get up. Yes, I'm going to sit here, feel my feels, stay in bed the whole day, try and figure things out. But you know what? Tomorrow is a new day and the sun is going to shine. And so I've got to get up. So with resilience, we're saying there are going to be external and internal demands. And with that happening, it requires us to have the ability to get up again. So some of you might say, well, what are some of the things that happen for us in terms of resilience? So many factors will contribute to how people will adapt to adversities that they come up with. Adversities can mean different things for different people. So for example, someone might struggle with hearing a no. Like, why are you saying no? No happens because we can't give funding to that. We're not able to support that idea. We don't think the idea that you're putting forward is actually amazing. And that can be hard to hear. That can be really frustrating because you spent a lot of time and a lot of effort, and you're thinking, it's a no-brainer. Let's keep it moving. So as an individual, right, we're all wired differently. And what do I mean by we're wired differently? So you are born, you get into this world. Some of us are people who look at things with a positive outlook. And so even in the face of adversity, we're able to say, you know what, it's going to be fine. Tomorrow is a new day. Let's keep it moving. Some of us, maybe it's not that easy. For some of us, it might be a case of, oh, this didn't work, and it takes a long time to get up again. The other issue is also around who is available to support us. So maybe we have in our family other people who show us that even when things don't always go in the way we expect them to, they get up and they keep moving. But for some of us, we don't have that capacity. We don't have those type of people who are able to support us to cope with these different strategies. So this is just a little bit of framing to help you understand what is this resilience. Some of the terms you might hear is bouncing back. So when I bounce back, I go down, I get up, I go down, I get up. And it's a continuous process. And just because you have hit a bump along the way today and you get it right tomorrow, it doesn't mean it's over. Further along the road, you might meet another bump, but what you're doing is building up the stamina. You are building up the backbone. When you encounter an issue, you are able to respond appropriately. So that is resilience in a nutshell. So another piece which I thought would be important is some of the characteristics around resilience. So as we understand this term, I am resilient, right? So think about strength. I can climb mountains. I can overcome. I can do hard things. That is the strength to be able to step into that discomfort, the strength to be able to say, oh, that was difficult. My gosh, that was really, really hard to get into that presentation and not be selected as the entrepreneur of the month. But you know what? I am confident that if I take the feedback that I've received, if I go and adjust my idea a little bit more, if I spend a little bit more time just tweaking the original thinking that I had, I know I can make a few steps forward. So that's the confidence, right? Resilience also deals with motivation. Yeah. Motivation that says, okay, I'm seeing the context. I understand what's going on. What else do I need to be doing? And motivation is internal and external. So in this journey of life, and I saw on the call that people are at kind of at different age levels. So how you experience the world will depend on the experiences that you've come across, right? So the motivation internally is where I can go back to a data point. A data point could be, I did well in this, in this work that I've done, and I feel like, oh, I am super successful. I've done really, really well. But on the other hand, I know that there are other people around who will say to me, hey, this is just a bump in the road. Remember when you did this. Remember how brilliant you are at this. Keep going. You're going to be fine. Resilience also deals with self-protecting, right? And for me, in this instance, it's around facts versus feelings. Feelings are big. Feelings really overwhelm us. And often when we hit a bump along the road, it's important to go back to the facts. Why does this matter? Why did I start on this journey? Why did I choose this particular pathway? And that helps to protect us from all the big feelings that we might have, because they're delays in executing our idea. The disappointment because our excitement is not being experienced by everybody else. So we need to self-protect in a way that helps us to keep moving forward. Resilience also requires us to put in the effort. It's not going to happen on its own. You're not always going to have cheerleaders along the way who say, hey, you got this, keep going. Sometimes you got to be your own cheerleader who says, you know what, this idea matters that much. And because it matters that much, I am willing to keep moving forward. I am willing to put in the work, put in the effort to move forward. The other characteristic around resilience is an issue of change. Change is the only constant. So now, what does that mean for you in your entrepreneurial journey? It means you're going to get feedback. It's feedback from your peers. It could be feedback from the market that you're trying to enter into. It could be feedback from people who could provide funding. So are you going to buckle over because I don't agree with the feedback? So now I'm going to go to bed, I'm going to cover my head, I'm going to sleep for 2 weeks and not talk to anybody. Or actually, I'm going to say, okay, this is hard to hear. This is really, really difficult to accept. But you know what? I think there's a valid point. If I look at this objectively, if I was on the other side, what kind of advice would I give myself, right? So the change is required, and the change starts with me. The other piece around resilience is the agility. Agility is around knowing when to move fast, when to slow down. So it's almost like a dance. So it's not always about moving for the sake of moving, but really having that ability to adjust the movement that's required in your idea. So this is the thinking around what resilience is all about. So I will move on to your chat just now. I just want to give a little bit of context to help you understand why we used resilience as a topic that is important for you who are on this journey. So the realities around entrepreneurship. So number one, big up yourself for being courageous. Big up yourself for saying, I have an idea and I actually want to try. So that's a big acknowledgement that I want to put into play. So one of the things that we know from the data is that there's a high failure rate, okay? And it's got nothing to do with you as an individual. It's the nature of the beast, right? So starting a new business, as we all know, can be super exciting. It's like, yes, I've got something that I want to do. But the reality is there are challenges. There could be challenges with the supply chain. There could be challenging with moving from prototype to actualizing this idea that you have. And so what comes with that is a lot of uncertainty. We also understand that a lot of, new businesses, they fail within the first few years. Some of our successful entrepreneurs will say to you, I went through a series of businesses, and just at that tipping point where I was about to give up, something shifted. So it's important for you to take courage from that reality of, oh, okay, I know others who have gone before me. I know others who are successful. They didn't always get it right the first time. They needed to try and try and try again. Because remember, this is something that you are thinking about in your mind. This is something that you're trying to help everybody else understand. And it's not always easy. Sometimes the rest of us are still trying to catch up with your idea. Maybe it's so revolutionary. We're thinking, hey, what are you actually talking about? Explain it in a manner that I can understand. And part of that influences the success of our ventures because it's clear in our heads, but our ability to translate that into a manner that other people can understand leads to some degree of failure. I've also looked at some stats, and we see in studies that approximately 20% of startups don't survive their first year. Okay? 20%. But perhaps you're part of the 80%. And approximately 50% fail by the fifth year. So it's 50-50, right? So the data gives us a clue. It gives us a clue in terms of what could possibly happen. So what we are trying to do is to be proactive. We're saying, as this forum, how do we equip you? How do we equip you with the backbone to operate in this environment that is giving us all this information that this is a possibility that you might not make it? Yeah. So the high attribute of failure, a lot of it, has to do with insufficient capital. You have a brilliant idea, but you don't get the funding that you require. Maybe the intensity of your prototype in terms of funding is too high, and no one is willing to put their money there. Poor planning is something else that comes into play. So when I'm sitting in my room, in my corner, working on something, I'm like, yeah, this is a brilliant idea. I'm going. But I don't always look at the bigger picture. And so that poor planning tends to contribute to the failure rate. The other issue is the inadequate market research. So for example, and I'll use an ARB example, I think, you know what? I am a brilliant baker. I am so brilliant. I think everybody will love my cakes. What I'm going to do is buy equipment. I'm going to rent, a bakery that I saw around the corner. I'm going to get going. And then maybe first week, first month, lots of traffic. Month two, nothing. And I think, but hang on, why are people not coming? I've done the investment. I've started this business, but it actually translates to inadequate market research. And what that means is who lives in the area? What kind of lifestyles do people have here? Do they even want cakes? Number one. Maybe you're staying in an area where there's a lot of, people who are conscious about their health, conscious about what they eat. And so the ingredients you're using in your cakes, a lot of people are like, oof, butter, enemy of progress. Ooh, too much sugar, enemy of progress, right? And so they would prefer options that are healthier. Yeah. So inadequate market research also contributes to a high failure rate, and it's something that you need to watch out for. The competition, intense competition, and competition is always there. And I find if there's competition for the stuff that I'm doing, it means I'm doing something right. But now I need to translate the customers who are making traffic to my competitor to actually come to me. So for example, if we are both selling bread, what will make people come and buy my bread and not go to the next shop that's also selling the same bread? So perhaps I need to create a culture where people come and have conversation. So in creating a relationship, it means people are wanting to come and buy bread from me. And maybe I have a coffee shop next to my store. So people not only come and buy bread, but they also come and buy coffee. I've also added a little bit of cake. I've also added a bit of fruit. I've also added a space where people can plug in. Google Robotics, please can you mute? And so I've also included other activities that actually make people say, oh, I want to come to this store rather. Even though you're both selling bread, I prefer to come to this particular space because of the environment that's been created. The last point that I want to, raise for you around, why some of the high failure rates that we see is lack of experience. Okay. If it's your first rodeo, chances are you have not factored in everything. There's so much value in experience. Experience in terms of just saying, sure, in this market, this is what you need to do to make a breakthrough. And to get that experience, it means you need to do the thing. You can't read it in a textbook. You need to experience it. And maybe it could be something like you don't like talking to people, but actually the success of your business is dependent on your ability to actually be front-facing. Some entrepreneurs are great in terms of building up an idea, but they're terrible in terms of just going to go and ask for what they need to upscale their idea. So the lack of experience could really work against you. And that's why it's important as we build up resilience in this entrepreneurial journey that you are ready to rock and roll. Another piece is around uncertainty and risk. Yay! The economy, the world has gone completely mad. So you are coming up with these brilliant ideas, and then geopolitics come in and they mess up this great idea that you think you have. So supply chain, for example, you are accessing resources in an area where there's political instability. So all the routes to get your spare parts that you need and all the equipment that you require, it means it's delayed. Or maybe there's interception by some gangs who are intercepting shipments. Boom, investment gone, nothing is happening, right? It could be also an issue around sourcing from another region where the exchange rate is so sensitive. So the uncertainty and the risk means that in terms of you building up as an entrepreneur, you're faced against the reality of what could happen. The other thing is around the long-term vision. So when we think about the long-term vision, it's so important to maintain long-term vision despite the short-term failures. For example, if you're saying, as an entrepreneur, this is what I'm solving for. In the short term, it looks like no one is biting. But I have to persevere, and maybe I need to adjust, or maybe I need to slice off a piece of this big idea that I'm holding. And when I do that, I'm able to build up on it year on year. So colleagues, the factors that you need to consider are helping you to paint the context, are helping you to understand the area that you're working in. And from there, it helps you to move forward and say, right, what do I need to be thinking about? So just moving on a little bit, I want us to talk about, resilience in an entrepreneurship. So we've spoken about failure happening, we've spoken about the risk, we've spoken about the uncertainty that comes with it. But the reality is a lot of us who are in the entrepreneurial journey are able to keep going. So it's important for you to be self-aware and say, why does this matter? Your why is important. I need to constantly connect to, why am I doing this? What gets me excited about this idea that I'm wanting to implement? Yes, I've been disappointed around funding. Yes, things have been slow. I had a whole beautiful project plan, but there are delays around supply chain. I've also gotten feedback that says, well, your idea is not as amazing. So what do I need to do differently that's going to help me to move forward? So number one, it's important to learn from failure, right? The ones who are able to embrace failure are more likely to succeed. And what that means is I get the feedback. Yes, it is going to sting. Yes, it is going to be difficult. Take the time, okay? Take the time to sit in it, feel disoriented, feel the hurt, cry, do whatever it is that you need to do, but you got to get up. You cannot stay there. Give yourself a deadline. Say, okay, I sent in my proposal. I got rejection 1, I got rejection number 2, I got rejection number 3, I got rejection number 4, rejection number 5. Oh, I don't know how much more rejection I can deal with. Okay, cool. Sit, just put it all down. Put it all down for a little bit. Do something else. I find gardening helps me, okay? I just get away from this difficult task. I go, potter around with my flowers, look at some veggies, and there's something about shifting gear that just helps me to reconnect with why this matters. In that moment of just putting my hands in the soil, watering, just noticing the beautiful aspect of nature, I'm able to bounce back and say, okay, cool. Now, let me look at the feedback. So failure 1, the rejection letter, they were saying my idea is not clear. Okay, cool. If I look at it objectively, are they saying the truth? Because of course it's our idea, you're going to be more generous with your feedback. But take an objective view and say, okay, I hear what they're saying. Oh, rejection 2, they didn't even give an explanation. So maybe I need to pick up the phone or send an email and say, dear so-and-so, thank you so much for your feedback. It would help me to understand a little bit better why I did not make the cut, right? It's learning from failure. Learning from failure requires you to ask for feedback, requires you to actually go back. What were the requirements? What did I do in contrast to that? If I am being as objective as I possibly can, was my presentation watertight? Did I do due diligence in making sure my figures are accurate? Did I look through the work that I presented? Because sometimes we're so quick to blame everybody. But when we review, we actually notice like, no, man, this proposal is untidy. There's no sequence. There are no page numbers. It doesn't even make sense. And yet you are asking me to give you 300,000 US dollars. But what am I giving you that money for? So take accountability. The adaptability piece, when we are building the resilience, requires us to change course. Some of us with our bright ideas might say, you know what? This is the straight road that I am going to follow. But the feedback tells you that this road, it's not going to work. You have no access to water. So your entrepreneurial venture is reliant on access to water. So it means you need to rethink your whole business model. So you are closer to water. It's cheaper for you to, move goods from one point to the other. So it requires adaptability. A lot of the time, we're so married to our idea. We don't even want anyone else to say no. So the adaptability requires us to say, okay, I hear what they're saying. How do I keep the essence of this idea that I have? How do I keep the heart of why this matters? And actually make sure I do the adjustments that will help you to move forward. Perseverance is something that we need in entrepreneurship. Perseverance means when I'm down, I'm going to get up again. I'm going to be bruised, but you know what? I'm going to dust myself off and I keep it moving. It's going to sting and I'm going to be prepared, but let me take the lessons so I can try again. Yes, other people might say, your baking isn't so great. Your cakes are quite doughy. They don't have the kind of fluffiness that we expect when someone is baking a beautiful cake, right? So how do I learn from that and keep going? The seeking support is absolutely critical. So number 1, just scan who is in the call. Maybe you recognize someone's name. Reach out, say, hey, can we connect on WhatsApp? Can we connect on whatever platforms that you use and talk about our experiences so that we have support? If you look through the chat, some people might be dialing in from the same country that you're from. Seek the support so that you are not alone. Ask for help. Asking for help means you actually recognize that I cannot do this alone. I need other people to help me. In this Africa Tech Startup Forum. This is another form of support. Reach out, ask for material, ask for help, ask for someone to coach you, ask for someone to hold your hand as you prepare for the next step. The last piece around this point is the emotional resilience. Now, the emotional resilience means I need to be self-aware. I need to know myself. If I don't know who I am, if I don't know where I'm going, then any road will do. And what does that mean? Someone might say, well, how do I know myself? So for some of us, when we wake up in the morning, we notice like, no, man, I'm just feeling a bit off. What's that about? Right? And if you actually wake up and notice, you'll realize, oh, I went to bed at 2 in the morning. Instead of sleeping, I started watching TV, I was on social media, and I actually lost track of time. So when I don't sleep enough, I actually feel a little bit off because I'm tired. If I don't eat in the morning, I feel like, man, my energy is a little bit low. If someone has said no to me, it takes me a couple of days to come back to myself and be like, oh, okay, it's nothing personal. I actually hadn't submitted the back statements that they wanted. I actually didn't provide a clear explanation that supports this idea that I'm putting forward. So in building up the emotional resilience, it's important for us to actually notice and recognize, who am I? How am I showing up? When this happens, what is the impact? So all of that is a journey that one needs to go on to get you on track. So I'm just going to stop sharing for a little bit and check if there are any questions or comments. Just seeing here. Okay, so these are all good morning. So Google Robotics is a pioneering startup. Okay, so just some explanation of that. Child nutrition tech. Okay, good, good, good. So I love this topic. It makes me remember why I ignite pain to adapt with life. Okay, Google Robotics, tell us more. What do you mean there? Topic resonates with me and my journey. And Mecca, thank you for that. Life is a puzzle to be solved. Okay, Geraldine is like, yes. So glad we're having this topic. Okay, we all need resilience. Google Robotics, lots of nice input. Do you want to just unmute quickly? I don't know if you're still on the call. Host, do you want Google Robotics to just comment? Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everyone.
Morning.
I'm Emmanuel Obed from Africa. That's Nigeria precisely, CEO of Google Robotics and artificial intelligence startup in Nigeria. So why I say that I prefer to ignite pain in my life is it actually makes you focus, have a goal, and become resilient. Then everything you just have to, just like everything you said in this call, that you have to be want to motivate yourself, you have to thank yourself, everything you just have to do it yourself because there's no one that's going to help you. Like when I started my journey, I started my company at the age of 16. My parents did not like anything I was doing. I was just doing my thing alone. I spent my money alone and just do it until it started bringing results. That was when I was around 18 years old. And yeah, so pain is actually what can actually fuel you to success. That's why I just understand.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that. And I'm loving the comments here. So for me, I see rejection emails as love letters. Absolutely. And no is a complete sentence, people. Sometimes that no is enough. I don't even need anything else. It's like, okay, so something happened here. And even you might know, like, okay, I really was just winging this. This information that I put in was incomplete. If I was the person reading this, I would also say no. So it's important for us to take feedback in context. It's also important for us to look at the gift of no, So in the chat, keep it going. Nairobi folks, please meet up. I saw in the chat, like for those in Nairobi, let's meet up. Ibrahim, I see your hand is up. You can go ahead.
Thank you so much. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much.
Good morning.
So far, the session has been so amazing. So quickly, my question is in the form of a practical example. So in a situation where an individual is not much concerned about everything, like in a situation where a person does not care whatever shortcomings that come in his way, or what the person feels is that I'm just living my life. I don't care whatever happens, whether it's good, it's bad. I just don't care about anything. So in this situation, can that be attributed to resilience? And my second question to ask would be with when in a situation of being resilient, does it only attribute to failure? Because why am I saying this? There might be a situation, maybe there might be successes coming your way, and you'll be carried away by those successes, forgetting what you are supposed to do or staying on track. So I want to know whether if resilience only attribute to maybe you being able to stand the difficulties that come your way, or also being able to, how do you call it, accommodate yourself, being in a well position when in terms of maybe when you are being carried away by certain good counts that come your way. So these are basically my questions that I want to ask. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim. And some of that is going to be answered as I continue with the presentation. But just to double click around resilience. So resilience is not saying, oh, everything is going to be sunshine and roses. No, it's acknowledging that there are going to be moments that are great. There are moments that are not so great. So it's that balance in what makes life what it is. And I will also use the issue of emotions. We will not always be happy. We will not always be smiling, and we will not only always be sad. It's a range of emotions. And part of it is around the balance. So it's understanding when I got a rejection, yes, I got upset. Yes, I got angry, but I'm not going to stay there. It's taking accountability for my part in it. It's also doing the work around asking for feedback. It's also being able to adapt and say, okay, I don't want to change, but actually they have a valid point. And allow yourself the time and space to just let the feedback land. Because often we want to respond in the moment, but we're not giving ourselves time to just process like, whew, I've heard this feedback. What does it actually mean? How am I feeling about this? I've spent hours, I've spent months working on this idea, and someone is saying, oh no, we're not willing to fund this. And yet you are thinking this is a solid idea. So it's that ability to be flexible, that ability to adapt, that ability to get down, but also get up. So don't misinterpret resilience as, oh, it's sunshine and roses. No. Resilience is acknowledging that stuff will go wrong, but also I have the ability to get up again. So let me move on a little bit to help you understand a bit more around, this resilience that we keep speaking about, right? For those of you who like Tupac or rap music, he speaks about, the rose that grew amongst the cracks, right? So there's concrete. And if you notice, sometimes there'll be like this concrete pathway, but there's a little flower that's growing. And you're like, how is this even happening? And for me, it's always that metaphor of resilience. So the conditions might be stacked against me. The journey might be long and hard, but actually, I keep moving forward. I keep doing the work. I keep doing what I need to do to stay on the path. I take care of myself. I seek the support. I ask the questions. I keep learning. And that helps me to grow up, to be like that tree on the picture. So some psychological aspects around resilience. First of all, deal with the mindset, right? So the mindset is how we look at stuff. It's how we make sense of information. So the foundation of resilience really deals with how we think about stuff. So what are our beliefs and mental models, right? So if I believe that everything is out of my control, I can't make a shift. I cannot make a shift because I'm believing, oh my gosh, everything has gone wrong. Oh, I need to wait for them to do something. Yet, I get the feedback. I get the rejection. I get the frustration. But what I can do, number one, my attitude is something that I can correct. My attitude is something I can work on, right? And you know that saying, your attitude determines your altitude. How far you go is dependent on your attitude. So if someone says no to you, let's say in this Africa Tech Startup Forum, you're having different topics that are being shared, you're having different input, but then you take the feedback as, oh, they don't know what they're talking about because I know it all. Or someone offers a different viewpoint to what you are doing, but you're not willing to learn. That is going to trip you up on the journey. So part of your work is to learn from the failures because we've spoken about it. You're not special. You're not the first person to have gone through this journey, okay? Contrary to popular belief, all of us feel like, oh, I'm the next best thing to sliced bread, for sure. But the world is full of people with ideas. So what is going to make your idea stand out? What is going to make your idea survive year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? Part of it is looking at businesses, and someone in the chat was talking about Airbnb, 100%. Think about companies like Uber, right? Maybe in the beginning, someone said, I mean, you don't have an office. Why wouldn't you have an office? You're not taken seriously if you don't have an office. But they had to disrupt the way people think so they could move forward with their business model. So maybe you are offering a solution that is completely different from what other people have been doing. But it's important for you to have the correct mindset that, yes, people might resist because they don't know any better. People might say, oh, that's a stupid idea. But if they understand, if they take time to actually listen, maybe there will be a shift. The other thing to remember is when we are thinking about our idea, it makes sense in our head, right? For me, if someone keeps saying, I don't understand, or people keep saying, what are you talking about? I take accountability that perhaps the way I'm explaining it is not clear. So my mindset must not be one of, oh, all these people must be stupid, or they must be crazy, or, they're not clever enough. But to also bring it back to myself and say, hang on, maybe I'm using terminology that other people don't understand. Maybe I need to simplify it and use examples that people can relate to because this will support people on this journey. The other psychological aspect of resilience is the emotional regulation. So we need to address the importance of managing our emotions, right? I said to you, we all have a range of emotions. Some of us become very emotional. We get a rejection, we cry, we swear, we shout, we do all sorts. As you go along this journey, you're going to need to learn ways of managing. So yes, you acknowledge that I'm sending this proposal in. There's a chance, a 50% chance that I might get a yes. There's a 50% chance that I might get a no. If I receive a yes, yay, fantastic. If I get a no, what am I going to do with this no? Am I going to take it and say, okay, so what this no actually means is that there's some parts of this entrepreneurial journey that requires attention. Am I going to remain calm and ask for more information? Am I going to say, thank you, can I come back to you tomorrow? It could be an email interaction. Do you have to respond to the email immediately? A lot of the time, no. Sleep on it. You know that phrase, just sleep on it. There's something about sleeping. There's something about stopping. There's something about taking a little bit of time to understand what's going on that helps us to approach an issue differently. We need to stay focused. When you sleep on it, It means I'm not going to send an angry email to say, well, all of you do not understand. I'm not going to put on social media, you see, those funders are not fair, they're so racist, they're so this, they're so that. But to actually take the time to say, okay, so what happened there? If I look at their feedback, does it track? Is it true? Is it fair? Is it objective? What can I do? What is the support that I need to help me move forward? The other piece around building your psychological aspects of resilience is the stress management. We have to manage stress. So stress in its purest form helps us to survive, okay? As humans, we need a little bit of stress, the little bit of stress that says, oh my gosh, tomorrow I'm getting, an interview for funding with this organization. So that stress means I prepare. It means I look for that outfit that makes me look confident, that makes me look put together. It means I am also looking forward to something. So it's like fuel. However, when the stress is now part of everyday life, it's not going to work. Hey, Cindy, please put on mute. So you need to be able to manage. You need to be able to manage your stress, right? Cindy, please go on mute. So to manage your stress, it requires you, number one, to be self-aware. Self-aware in terms of, if I need to do something. And Hilda, please go on mute. The host, please, can you help me with muting people as they come in? So what's important is when we are dealing with our stress, it's important for us to recognize I am not okay. So it could be markers like, when I have a big meeting coming up, I find I get this headache. I'm like, oh my gosh, I have a splitting headache. The splitting headache is data that tells me I am worried about what's happening. I am worried about this big meeting because I don't know how things are going to go. But now that I can identify what causes the stress, what do I need to do? I need to make sure I'm prepared. I need to make sure I log in on time if it's an online meeting. I need to make sure I am able to recognize what is required on my side, right? Is it a list of documents that I need to have? Is it an issue of having a speech prepared? Do I do, a speech for my family before the session starts? What are some of the things that I need to do that help me to feel confident and prepare? Mindfulness is something that some of you do already. So mindfulness could look like I just spend a few minutes on my own every day. Maybe it's in the morning or it's in the evening to say, what's happening for me? What am I feeling? What am I experiencing? It could include prayers for those of you who are religious. It could mean just taking time to read something on your own. Exercise is also another important thing. So our bodies need to move. You can't just be seated in front of your computer the whole day or just parked off on the couch or just not taking the time. So at least 30 minutes a day, whether you walk, whether you run, whether you just do something that gets you out of the space that you typically find yourself, okay? My internet is just saying internet connection unstable, so I'm just going to wait for it for a few seconds and then put my camera back on. So the other thing is also to just recognize, like, where's my energy? What is happening with my energy levels? So if I'm feeling like low energy, I'm not feeling motivated, what are some of the things that I need to do? Some of the things I need to do could look like I need to manage my diet. I need to change my routine because the brain thrives on routine. It means, what time am I waking up? When I wake up, do I make my bed? Do I tidy up the space that I'm in? I make a meal, I eat, okay? And then I sit and I do my work. Okay, cool. What else do I need to be doing? I need to get outside. There's something about fresh air that's so important, right? Just being out there. For me to manage, so I do a lot of different projects simultaneously. and it gets quite stressful. But one thing that I am strict about with myself is to try and walk. Doesn't matter which country or which space I'm in. I try and go outside, get some air, and it helps to reset my mind like, okay, body and mind are together. Because the body is not there to just transport the head, people. Body plays a very big role. The body gives you data. When you're feeling your shoulders are heavy, they're feeling burdened, it probably means that's what's going on for you. You're taking on too much. Know when to seek support. Some of you might see, oh, I don't sleep well anymore. I keep waking up. Okay, that's an alarm bell. Something has to shift. So stress management, emotional regulation, and managing your mindset are going to help you in building up the resilience. So what are some of the things that you can look at in terms of identifying your personal resilience, strengths, and areas for improvement? I keep talking about self-awareness. Self-awareness is so important because any change that I want to do, it starts with me, right? So when I do my own self-reflection, let me look at, where am I coming from? So the gift of hindsight. The gift of hindsight means we can turn back and say, oh, okay. So what kind of person have I been? So for example, if you think about school, maybe you played sport, but you were never selected to be part of the team. What did you do about that when you were not selected? Were you a sore loser? Were you someone who then said, oh, well, I'm not going to do sport anymore because they never choose me anyway? Or you were that person who said, oh, okay, I didn't get selected. What was that about? Was I going to practice every day? Did I listen to the coach when the coach was giving instructions of what we were supposed to do? Did I take it seriously? And think about how you responded to different challenges, because the data is always there. But a lot of the time we try and think of it as, oh, it must be them. It must be the system. It must be people who don't understand. And yet it's us. We are the hindrance to our own success. So use this as an exercise. You can take a screenshot of this or get, the slides later. Think about the challenges that you faced, right? So you could put it in terms of category. So you could say, okay, at school, if I failed a subject, how long did it take me to get over it? Yeah. For those of you in varsity, maybe you failed a module. Yeah. Did you go back and re-register? Did you take accountability and say, well, actually, yeah, I did not study. I was skipping class, and so I'm ending up at this point, but I contributed, right? So think about the strategies that you used to cope. Was it easy for you to bounce back quickly? Did it take time? What helped you to make the shift? Because when we're able to dip from the things that we've done before and we've done it well, it will help us in the journey going forward. Also notice your emotional responses to stuff. When you get a no, how does that look for you? Does everyone in your house know, like, yay, so-and-so got a no, they are not getting up. They're going to be crying for days, or they're going to be angry, or you're going to say, well, anyway, I don't want to do this anymore. It's wasting my time. Or actually, you do get upset, but you don't stay there. You get upset, you take stock, and you start again. Do you get overwhelmed? So all of this is data that helps you to say, if I feel like this in the face of adversity, if I respond in this way, what is the support that I need that helps me to get up and keep going? What is the support that I need to help me to change my mindset? What are some of the things that I need to be thinking about? So the second point looks at strengths and resilience. So positive thinking is important, okay? Having a positive outlook, even when things go wrong. So it's not to say, oh, well, I'm just going to ignore the facts and say, it's all good, people, it's all good. Meanwhile, I can see this as a disaster. So it's being able to recognize where things are problematic, taking responsibility, but also having the hope and optimism that, okay, entrepreneurship is something that I want to do. No matter how difficult it is, I want to do it. So I'm an entrepreneur, and part of the fuel that keeps me going is my grandparents. So on my maternal and paternal side, my grandparents were entrepreneurs. They were successful in their time and they kept going. And I enjoyed listening to their stories of, yeah, then this happened, I lost everything and I needed to start again. And it helps me in my own ventures of, okay, it's tough, but you know what? Others who are further along the road have been successful. So I can dip into that strength to give me courage to try again, to give me courage to course correct, to give me courage to say, maybe I need to adjust this idea a little bit and see what I can do that is relevant. The adaptability. How do I adjust to new situations? How do I change when the request for change emerges, right? Problem solving. We need to be able to learn how to solve problems. And part of that is linked to the power in decision making. When we are decisive, it helps us. So I often say, well, when you have this great idea, you are the plan. No one else is coming because no one understands the idea more than you. So how do you nurture this idea? How do you prune what needs to be pruned? So if you think of your entrepreneurial journey like a plant, your plant is going to grow when you prune, when you pay attention to it, when you water it, when you make sure you're giving enough sunlight, you're moving it when the heat is too much. So you need to be able to find solutions to problems. And the beautiful thing is the solutions don't only need to come from you. In the age that we are in, there's so much information out there. There's a community of people out there who are willing and able to support you, right? The network of people that are available to support you. Ask for help. It does not make you a failure. Ask your friends, ask your colleagues to say, hey, I just need someone to think through this idea. Can you check if this makes sense? Or this is what I wanted to do, and someone can give you information. The self-efficacy is around the confidence that I am building in my abilities, right? To influence events and outcomes in my life. And that could look like, in this AI area that I'm working in, I'm confident that this is an area of exploration because it's an area that I've been studying for years. It's an area where I have access to information. It's an area where I'm partnering with someone who's done so well in this field and will be able to support me. So you are not alone, okay? Just want to move quickly. I'm checking the time is like cruising. The other thing with identifying your personal resilience, strengths, and areas for improvement is, again, issues around stress management. So what are those areas that I need to improve? Do I need to learn new ways of managing? Do I need to find ways of relaxing? So one of the things I do is a body scan. So in the morning, I give myself probably 5 to 10 minutes before I jump out of bed, okay? My phone is not the first thing I reach out for. I tune into this body that works with me, that helps me to navigate the world. And I start from my toes, starting with the breathing and like, what am I feeling? And where you're sitting, just kind of notice what's going on in your body, move your shoulders if you need to, stretch your arms. It's all part of saying to your body, wake up, we are together, right? So I scan my body from my toes, moving all the way up to my head, and I'm breathing as I'm doing that. I'm noticing, oh, okay, I'm moving my fingers. How is that? I'm moving my toes. I'm moving my leg. Okay, my knee feels like there's a little bit of tightness there. Okay, my knees need to just move a little bit. Oof, okay, my back feels like I need to stretch. Okay, oof, my shoulders are feeling a little bit heavy. What's that about? And I'm still in bed, just kind of reflecting like, okay, yesterday's meeting was pretty tough. Maybe that's kind of the residue that I'm still holding. Oof, okay. My head, I'm feeling quite energized, right? I'm feeling like cylinders are firing. Yeah, because I want to go back and work on this idea. So when I get out of bed, I've scanned my body. I've kind of gotten up to date with where it's at. It's like a dashboard, like, where are we at? I get up, routine, 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 routine. Make your bed, okay? Basic things. And I say this even to people who are old, like when you wake up, first thing, make your bed, right? That process of, okay, I have closed this part of the day, right? I was resting. I've now closed it up. I'm going to shower. Okay. Close up that section. So do a routine that works for you. All our circumstances are different, but find your own routine that helps your brain to stay up to date. It's like, oh, okay, we've closed up this piece. The other hack could be even the spaces where you work. So I try and limit the work that I do in my bedroom, like in my bed. Okay, I'm part of the pajama workforce. Sometimes I find myself laptop in bed working. But the problem is it interrupts my sleep because now I'm like, oh, my laptop is right here. I pull it out and I start working. So I've learned ways of, okay, this is a space in my home where I work. This is a space where I'm relaxing. This is a space where I'm eating. This is a space where I am doing, whatever activities that you require in your day to day. So find new techniques that helps you to manage the stress. When you're feeling overwhelmed, just creating a little bit of order, tidy up the spaces that you're in. You'll be so amazed at how that frees up your ability to think. Emotional regulation, we've spoken about. It's something for you to work on. Why do I find it difficult to control my emotions under pressure? I get so upset. So emotional regulation is possible when we feel rested. It's possible when we eat. It's possible when we are self-aware. So the more tired you are, the harder it is to self-regulate. It's like your suitcase just it opens up, right? And you're trying to force everything back. If you're traveling and the suitcase is just, everything is just too full, and you're like, okay, I just managed to close the zip. That's our emotions. That's everything that's going on. But if you're not aware that, oh, okay, I've packed this suitcase, I mustn't open the bag, open it because the zip is going to get loose, then you're not regulating. So you need to know what's going on for me. When does it happen? What else is going on around me? Maybe there are other things happening at home. Maybe you also have some challenges with your mental health. Get the support. If you're on medication, take your medication. And it's important to eat well, to exercise, to rest, because all of that will help to support your emotional regulation. The flexibility we've spoken about. Take time to think about when it's a new thing that I need to do. It could be, a calendar change. How do you respond to that? Do you get overwhelmed and so upset, like, why is this changing? Or you're like, oh, okay, no, cool, I understand. What else do I need to do to adjust things? Who do I need to communicate with? It could be stuff like, this idea actually is not going to work online. It requires you to actually adapt it for an in-person experience. How flexible are you in making those shifts? Social connections. And in the world that we're in, there's so much challenges with our mental health. The gift of that is people are talking, more people are speaking out about the experiences they have, all right? Anxiety in its simplest form is a data point. It's like a dashboard. If you're driving a car and you're low on fuel, you'd get a warning sign. So anxiety is that warning sign to say, hey, something is not okay. But you need to do the work of understanding what is not okay. Is it the pressure? Is it like there's so much going on at the same time that I don't know how to juggle? So I need support with time management. Is it an issue of I've gotten so many rejections in a short space of time, I can't take it anymore. So what is the kind of support that I need to help me to accept and to make the adjustments and to try again, right? Also, to not isolate yourself. So that balance of, I still need time to connect with other people. I still need time to do things that are fun, do things that I enjoy. If I like going to play soccer, yeah, am I building a time to do that? If I like to watch comedy, am I spending enough time to do that? So I'm able to also engage and really nourish myself. So that all ties into the self-care. The actionable steps that you need to think about in building your resilience is you need to set goals. When we talk about goal setting, the goals need to be measurable. If you don't know where you're going, any road will do, and you don't want that, right? So set goals that are specific. The more specific you are, the easier it is to actually measure if you're making progress. You also need to set goals that you can attain, right? So I'll use losing weight as an example. So let's say, for example, my brother is getting married at the end of the year. Okay, so we're in August. December, the 1st is my brother's wedding. There's this dress that I really want to wear. But I know with winter, I've been having a lot of bread and soup, so I'm a little fuller around the tummy areas, and this dress that I want to wear is not going to fit, right? I'm getting more and more specific. But if I just say to myself, you know, I want to lose weight for my brother's wedding. Okay, how do I know if I'm making progress? By when? So, okay, time bound, specific. 1st of December is the wedding. All right. Where do I want to lose weight? Okay, so I've checked the dress can't go above my shoulders. So there's lots of work that I need to do around my core. Okay, cool. What kind of food am I eating? Oof, the distance between my computer and the kitchen, tiny. I eat whatever is there. I finish the leftovers from last night. I eat all the chocolate and biscuits in the house. And so I'm not really going to lose weight because I'm eating all the time. Okay, so what do I need to do? Oh, maybe I need to do a meal plan. Okay, cool. So this meal plan is for when? Actually, from Sunday to Saturday, I need to sit down and actually say breakfast, this is what I need to eat. Lunch, this is what I need to eat. Dinner, this is what I need to eat. In between, I need to have water. Also, when I go shopping, no more chocolate, no more cookies, no more, stuff that tempts me. If I live with other people in the house, I also need to be able to say, how else can we do this together, right? So that's part of setting goals that are specific. So month on month, I'll be checking. So if I'm at 100 kilograms now and I'm trying to get to 75 kilograms, okay, how realistic is it? Month 1, I make the changes. I've only lost 500 grams. Month 2, hey, I'm not going to, if I keep this progress up, how am I going to make it possible, right? So now it's important for us to keep adjusting until we're able to identify areas that we can actually work on and realistically adjust to make the shift. So don't make the goal so big that you actually can't achieve. So I'll say, I want to lose 50 kilograms. It's impossible. I can't do that. But if it's, it's healthy reduction, and maybe I need to start changing my routine, I need to do A, B, C, D. It's stuff where I make the adjustments and I can actually track the progress. Seeking the resources. So who do I need to talk to? Maybe I need to talk to a trainer at my local gym who's going to support me on the journey because I've set the target. So in your entrepreneurial journey, it's important for you to also think about the areas that you want to shift. Set goals, break things up into sizable chunks, get the support to help you to do that. Practicing regularly. So every day is an opportunity to practice for who we want to become, right? So if I want to be more measured, I can't wait for December to be measured, right? I need to do the work now. I need to do the work where I'm like, okay, when I'm having a conversation, I need to listen first before I respond. I need to ask questions. I need to do an email with clear questions before a meeting so I am better prepared. I need to sit with the feedback for a day or two. And that way I'm able to manage the reactions that I have when I'm now having face-to-face interactions with colleagues. If I'm working in a team, I need to allow other people an opportunity to speak before I speak, right? Because you want to be able to hear what other people have to share. It's also important, to practice, so stuff like your exercising, stuff like your mindfulness, your journaling, where you're writing down your thoughts of where you want to go. It's a day at a time. Build up the stamina. Build it up, build it up, build it up. You cannot run a marathon and say, oh, okay, today, this is Sharon. Tomorrow I want to run a 100-kilometer race. How? I actually need to practice. I need to build up the strength. I start off with maybe 500 meters. Tomorrow I do something else, and I build up until I'm able to run that 100K race and my body is prepared. So also in your entrepreneurial journey, you don't have to eat the whole elephant in one go, piece by piece. And it's important for you to reflect on your progress and make the adjustments as you go along. So very quickly, we spoke about mindset already. Okay, so there are two types of mindset, which some of you might be familiar with. There is the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. The fixed mindset is, this is me, you get what you get. Okay, I am here at this station. I am not changing. I stick to what I know. Whew. Fixed mindset, we all get it at some point. But it's important to recognize when we are stuck with a fixed mindset and look for those opportunities to look towards a growth mindset. So growth mindset is saying to us, failure is actually an opportunity to grow. So yes, I'm hearing this. Yes, I have a whole degree, I have distinctions, and I am the smartest in my family. And now you're telling me this is not good enough? Well, I can keep learning. Challenges help me to grow. And also, you might be given input on trying new things. The growth mindset allows you to do that because you're saying, oh, okay, I wouldn't have ordinarily done things in this way, but actually, I have an opportunity to try a different way. I have an opportunity to take this feedback, adapt the way I work, and actually contribute towards my entrepreneurial journey. So yes, maybe right now, this is not what I need to do, but going forward, based on this feedback, I am going to change how I show up. I'm going to change how I pitch my idea. I'm going to limit the amount of stuff that I say so that it's clear. I'm actually going to find the local library where the internet is stable and set up my meetings there. Because when I try and do it off my phone, it's noisy, the internet keeps dropping. So a growth mindset allows you to move forward. It allows you to be inspired by the success of other people and keep going. Yeah. So the other thing I wanted to also just leave with you is this issue of abundance and deficit mindset. So mindset, you'll see, is really such a big thing. So if your mindset is saying, oh, poor me, what can I do? No one has ever done this. Oh, so why do I think I'm special? Yeah, then you will keep staying in that zone of deficit. The abundance mindset acknowledges that, yes, things might be difficult, but you know what? With the right support, with the right ingredients, I can actually get it done. Even though I started my journey here, there's an opportunity for me to change course and still meet the objective. Maybe your objective is to solve issues around hunger. So food security is the work that you're interested in. And perhaps your entrepreneurial journey was trying to come up with a solution, but maybe not yet. Maybe it's not yet time for you to be offering that solution. It needs to be packaged differently. So how do I do that? I keep looking for opportunities. I keep checking for ways where I can grow. So you'll see a lot of what I'm saying deals with the mindset. My attitude determines my altitude. So if I am stuck on doing things one way, I can't grow. If I am stuck on saying it's my way or the highway, no one can help you. So it's important for you to say, okay, let's start from the beginning. What are the things that I need to be thinking about? What are some of the things that I need to do that helps me to actually move from point A to point B? What are some of the things that I need to adjust within myself that helps me to show up differently? And I see there are lots of comments there. I'm going to try and finish quickly so we have enough time to deal with the questions. The other thing, and we've spoken about the context in which we're operating in. So we're in this, there are many words, bani, VUCA, So this is just one of the concepts where there's lots of volatility, there's uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So the more volatile things are, for example, your exchange rate, you're in a business where you're required to work with the US dollar, but the exchange rate in your country is so sensitive, so you can't even plan, even with a buffer. The cost of your enterprise or the cost of your venture is not stable, and it creates a lot of uncertainty for you. And you're saying, oof, so this volatility, the up and down, it creates anxiety because if you don't know, it's difficult for you to plan, right? The complexity is we might be looking at the same thing, but the way we make sense of it is so different. So I'll use an example of in a family, you are parents with 2 children. The children have had access to the same parents, same food, same school, same everything, but they turn out the way they turn out. So this is the complexity of dealing with humans. We make sense of the world in different ways. So in your venture, you might be looking at stuff from a particular viewpoint, but someone else could be looking at the same idea, but come up with a completely different view. And that creates a lot of challenges. The ambiguity also comes in where we're looking at the same thing, but our interpretation is very different. So the world will continue to change. And as they're changing, your abilities need to also shift, right? So the skills that you have, they need to meet the demands of the realities that you're working in. So in your venture, where you started and where you are 6 months down the line may require a completely different set of skills. Be up for the challenge. Be up for the challenge to say, I need to adjust. And that's the resilience of saying, okay, I was familiar with this, but 6 months down the line, the legislation has changed. It has impacted how I interact in this sector. And because of that, I actually need to change how I show up. I actually need to change the whole business model so that it aligns to this new legislation that I have, right? So it's important for you to stay up to date, yeah? The other thing I want to also bring in is around mental health. So colleagues, friends, mental health is alive and well, okay? And one of the things that we need to recognize is all of us are different. We deal with issues in very different ways. And that has to do with our genetic makeup, it has to do with our life experiences, has to do with the kind of support that's available, has to do with the environment, has to do with the situation and the context in which we are confronted with. Okay, so one size doesn't fit all. So what works for John might not work for Sipho. And it's important for us to acknowledge that. And that image is always so apt for me because in different circumstances, we know that the exam that we're taking to try and solve, it's not going to be the same. The elephant can't go up the tree. It can definitely pull the tree down. The fish who is in water can't go up the tree. So in your understanding of mental health, while someone else has dealt with situations in a different way, it's important for you to acknowledge and recognize that maybe you need a different approach. If you are working with a team, it's important to also understand that our needs are different. It could, for example, be something like some people in your team are okay with constant changes. It's part of the pack within entrepreneurial ventures. But what can you do as the leader of that team to accommodate different people? Someone else needs more information, a bit more structure to help them to manage these changes. So take note of your own mental health challenges, take note of the mental health challenges of those around you, and seek the support that you require to get help. So I've spoken about stress, and you'll also have the slides. I don't want to belabor the issue here. Stress, it's a natural human response. It helps us to address the challenges and threats in our lives. Like, oh, we all get some stress. What are some of the things that I need to be doing to help me manage this worry or mental tension that's caused by a difficult situation? So it could be the response, it could be lack of funding, it could be the change in your reality. And how do you notice that I am stressed? And what are the things that I need to do differently, right? So for entrepreneurs, I thought it would be helpful for us to just look at some of the stress that you could possibly encounter. Financial stress, I think that is a no-brainer. Is there enough money to do what I want to do? If all things were equal, there would be an endless supply of resources, endless supply of financial resources and cash flow that helps us to experiment, that helps us to try different things. Even when we fail, we know the pot of money is still there. But the reality is, if the venture fails, then that's it. Maybe you now need to go and find a 9-to-5 job because you are dependent on that venture to help you. You're dependent on that funding to help you keep pushing your entrepreneurial venture. Issues around workload and time management. Some of you might still be holding a full-time job, but also on this entrepreneurial venture. Some of you might be studying, but also working as entrepreneurs, and juggling all these multiple demands can really reduce your productivity and lead to burnout. Yeah. The uncertainty and risk is also something else that's important, where we find that sometimes not knowing what's going to happen, it can lead to stress and mental fatigue, because you're saying, well, we're waiting for elections. Like this year, 2024, we've had elections globally. I think it's 66 elections in different countries. And that might have implications on how you operate. So that can create a lot of risk, where you've put in a lot of infrastructure, you've put in funding, but based on geopolitics, then things might really go pear-shaped. Interpersonal stress, maybe you're not getting along well with others that you're working with. Maybe within this community, you are just antagonizing one another. So the morale might be low and the relationships might be strained. So it's important for you to also notice that and manage it well. The compliance issues I've spoken about, so, you could be liable from a legal point of view, and it creates its own mental burden. And then just balancing your own personal life with the business demands can lead to a lot of challenges. And this, I cannot emphasize enough the impact of stress on entrepreneurs. So stuff around your mental health, because you're exposed to so much stress, leads to anxiety and depression. And it's important for you to be self-aware. Notice, I'm not sleeping okay. I'm not eating okay. I'm quite emotional. Everything makes me so upset. What's going on? Physical health. How many times are you, going to the doctor because you're sick? Your tummy is always sore, tied to anxiety. You're getting a lot of headaches. Maybe it's a lot of pressure. Other impact of stress, like your decision-making. And I said earlier, the power of decision-making is critical in your entrepreneurial journey. But when we are under pressure, when we are tired, when we're not taking care of ourselves, it impacts on our decision-making. So we tend to make poor decisions, or we tend to be reactionary. And by being reactionary, it impacts how we operate. Productivity also gets impacted because we burn out. We are just not creative. And actually, the success of our venture is dependent on our creativity. And ultimately, the business outcomes get affected because you're not able to work well, you're not able to lead, you're not able to sustain this brilliant idea that you had, because you've given your all into this venture, but not allowing yourself enough time to just rest. Almost there. Okay, so stress management, and some of this I've already, spoken to you about. The exercising. Come on, people, let's get out there. Let's put in a lot of time. The relaxation. Find things that make you smile. Do things that you enjoy. Listen to music. For me, music is a great pickup. The mindset, if I am always thinking, oh, the world is bad, the world is coming after me, it really gets so draining. So try and find those cracks of light in your day to day. Like, okay, as much as it's a difficult season, I'm really thankful that I have an opportunity to be part of this community where I can be supported, where I am not alone, where I have people who can walk with me. Manage your meals. When you plan your meals, you can actually have a balanced diet, and that helps to improve your energy and the focus that you have, right? Try and limit alcohol and caffeine. So lots of coffee, lots of sugar, not really great, for your energy levels. The setting of goals, cannot emphasize enough. Learning to say no. No, no, no. No is a complete sentence, right? And just because someone gets upset when you say no, it does not mean you should have said yes. So there are times where you need to do deep work. There are times where you need to sit and focus. It requires you to prioritize. It requires you to prioritize and get stuff done, okay? So if you're taking on too much, meeting every Tom, Dick, Harry, and Susan, it means you don't have time to focus on the work you want to do. Stay connected. You are not a man or a woman on an island. You have people. Dip into those communities. Reach out and say, hey, you want to do coffee? Hey, you want to just meet up for a walk in the park so we can talk? Do you want to jump on a Zoom? Do you want to jump on a WhatsApp call so we can just talk about how things are going? There's something so motivating about hearing the progress of other people. Like, wow, so you managed to put in a proposal and get a yes. Wow, that's amazing. What else do I need to be thinking about? How did you get, a meeting with that particular funder? Give me ideas. How did you get out of that frustrating point where you felt like you were not making progress, right? Sleeping is a productive exercise. People, make sleep a priority. Again, the brain thrives on routine. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. The harder it is for you to stick to a routine means you're tired in the morning. So limit screen time, okay? So your computer and your phone before bedtime is not a great idea. Try and just have moments where you detox from your gadgets. Like, I just want to go offline. I want to read. I want to just not be disturbed, right? It is so important. Try and sleep, and your body knows what to do. There are moments where you are thinking, oh, I feel so tired. I just need a nap. That 30-minute nap could recharge your body, and you're actually feeling more energized to continue. An important one for me is also around practicing gratitude. Gratitude in the day-to-day, gratitude in the ordinary and mundane. I have shelter. I have a meal. I have an opportunity to actually try out this entrepreneurial venture. I'm not forced to go and look for a job. That is something I am grateful for. I am grateful that I don't have to look after a big family, but I can really just focus on this entrepreneurial venture. I'm thankful for the funding that I have that allows me to prototype this idea and try and bring life into it. I am grateful that this entrepreneurial venture that I'm on is not only creating employment for me, but it's creating employment for 10 other people on the continent. This venture that I'm on actually puts a spotlight on my country, because the only thing people hear about my country is negative. So find ways of practicing that gratitude, right? So the other things that, I've spoken about this, it's really just similar conversations of, developing your self-awareness, self-regulation, coping skills, the optimism, the connections, and knowing your strengths. The network, I've spoken about this over and over. You need to actually know why your network matters. So to have friends, you also need to be a friend. So don't wait for other people to approach you. Take courage. Take courage to send a DM now on the call and say, hey, let's connect. Hey, this is my number. Hey, this is what I'm busy with. Are you interested? This is my website. Hit me up. Let's talk, right? Be accessible. Be an extra resource. Maybe you exchange ideas. Maybe you're like really, really good with putting together content, but the other person is pretty good with doing research. So how do you exchange skills? Because it's not always about money, right? Also grow your status. So online, who are you talking to? What are some of the things that you're commenting on? And nurture the relationship so you can have this community of people that are going to support you from now going forward. Yep, and this is also something else that you need to do in terms of building up your network. So when you find the people that are going to work with you, network, go to in-person events, go to virtual sessions, be available. Prepare your pitch, your 30-second pitch. Hi, I'm Sharon. I'm in the business of people and I am based in Johannesburg. Oh, you're in the business of people? What does that actually mean? A conversation has started. So frame what you do in a way that helps the next person to be curious, to say, oh, okay, tell me more. Lead with confidence and curiosity. So with networking, it's important for you to also offer and receive. Okay, so you create the conditions for doing that. If you are in the business of, using business cards, yeah, have them on hand. Share with other people. If you're using the virtual business card, make sure the information is up to date. Don't say, oh, yeah, okay, we'll talk. Make the connection. It could be something as odd as, oh, okay, let's take a selfie. And then we send on WhatsApp and I say, hey, this is Sharon. We met on the Africa Tech Startup Forum. And yeah, because you might have 10 other Sharons in your directory and you're not sure which Sharon is this, right? So you need to find creative ways of making sure the connection happens. Networking isn't about setting a time and forgetting. Make the connection, nurture the connection so that you're able to continue flowing, right? So this is just a little bit more resources for you to look at in terms of creating your own resilience plan. And it really just gives you clear stuff of, okay, so if I'm looking at my daily routine, what is the consistency that I need to have? What do I need to monitor and adjust? The long-term resilience goals, I think it's important for you to, and I'm worried about time and questions, is to define your goals, right? Where are you going? If you don't know where you're going, any road will do. Break down the goals. If it's too big, make it smaller. Take a chunk, create that timeline, look at the resources that you need, and track your progress, because it's important for you to be able to measure. Am I making progress? Am I going well? What else do I need to do? What else do I need to be thinking about, right? Lastly, your comfort zone is tiny, okay? But when you step out of your comfort zone, that's where the magic happens. So don't get stuck in just wanting to stay in your lane. Open yourself up. Ask questions, remain curious, and really be open to trying things that are different. So resilience requires effort from you. Resilience is not something that's going to come in a neat, tidy box that's beautiful and pretty. It's actually you saying, whew, that was hard. Sure, I feel so disappointed, but actually what I need to do is take time to sit with someone who has a successful venture in the sector that I'm working. I want to ask them questions. I want to be able to get insights on how did you do it? And now with the beauty of social media, it means people are more accessible. So if I go on LinkedIn and I say, hey, Sharon, just wanting to check, you are doing work in resilience, and I'm interested in doing work around that. What else do I need to know if I'm new in the market? What is something that you know now that you wished you knew when you started the journey? So open yourself up, reach out and say hey to somebody, and then see what happens. So colleagues, this brings us to a very speedy end in terms of input. And I want to look at the million questions that we have. Thank you so much for keeping it going. So I'm going to scan. Okay, Edgar, over to you. Let's go.
Good afternoon. This is Edgar from Jani Trade. First of all, thank you so much for the training on resilience. It is so impactful. I've learned so much. My
Thank
first
you.
question comes in the process of my organization is Jani Trade. We deal with mentoring entrepreneurs, giving them funding, connecting them to the right funding partners, and all that. So, in the journey of entrepreneurship, at some point you have to maybe have a partner, maybe somebody who's in the industry or a friend.
Mhm,
But you have seen circumstances where partners have ended up maybe taking over your business
mhm,
or stealing your idea or just destroying you. So in the journey of resilience, how are we able to make sure that we don't make such mistakes? Because you have seen a lot of startups
mhm,
being taken over by somebody else who you trusted, who's going to
mhm.
work with you.
Yeah.
The second question is that for me, I think that mentorship plays a very important role in resilience. Like even what
Mhm,
the African Tech Startup Forum is doing right now, we are being mentored as entrepreneurs. So if more organizations across the continent or across the globe can offer mentorships to entrepreneurs, I think that we'll be a continent that is full of opportunities and we'll be able to be a solution provider
mhm.
in different parts of Africa and across the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Edgar. Those are powerful questions. So the first one, people stealing your ideas. So a cheeky response is, if my idea is worth stealing, I'm onto something. It must be a pretty good idea that people are willing to steal it. However, the lesson from that, if you find out someone has stolen your idea, is, okay, who am I sharing the idea with? How am I packaging the idea? What are ways of explaining my idea that still requires me to unpack it fully so that someone else can understand? It could be also just around the visibility of what you're doing. So again, the power of social media. So if it's something where I'm trying to gather information, I'm doing prototypes, if I am known to be working in this area, even if someone steals my idea, the fact that I have the footprint online of having done this work, actually people know, like, oh my goodness, okay. For example, I've seen, on TikTok, someone saying, oh, but this person from the UK stole ideas from this creative in South Africa because they've stolen the formula, right? And part of it is around our own ability to document. So do due diligence in terms of if someone is asking to get all the information around my idea, what am I wanting to get from this person? Why am I accepting this meeting? What type of information is required? How much of it is required? So context is important. Sometimes funders, you meet 10 funders and all of them want the proposal. And there's a risk that someone might take it and build up on it. So you need to also just check, who am I giving my information to? How much am I giving? And how can I package it in a way that I still need to be the one that's involved? So that's the first piece. The mentorship absolutely builds entrepreneurship. However, you also need to show up in a manner that someone is willing to mentor you. Sometimes we ask for mentorship, someone gives input, but you're not willing to do your part. And it really just pulls people back and they're not willing to give, more support. So it's a two-way traffic. Okay, Oluwatoyin, your hand is up, and then Bozaz, you are up after that.
Yeah, so good day. I hope you can hear me.
Mm-hmm. I can hear
Yeah, it's
you.
been an amazing and very enlightening section with you. A lot of times persons don't really focus on the psychological requirements to run a business or to be a founder and the resilience that is needed also to thrive. I represent Pisces Technologies, and the question I have is this. Is there a point where a person gets as a startup founder where you just need to pack up and go get a job. Like the question is this, like there are certain founders that I know, startup owners and all of that, and they keep trying and they try and they try, and it doesn't work. Like, can anybody or everybody be a startup founder, or it's just not meant for some persons? If it's not working for some persons, just shut it down, go get a job. It's not meant for everyone. It's not your niche. Does that kind of thing apply where some persons can thrive in this and it's not meant for some? So rather than try so much, sometimes the failure is just an indicator to quit and just go do something else. Or can everybody maybe over time, over trainings and teachings, can anybody become a wonderful startup founder? Yeah, that's the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for that brilliant question, which is applicable and something that, we have to own up. And the only person who can give that answer is yourself. So the self-awareness is important. My sense is not everyone is on a journey of entrepreneurship, and that's okay. Some of us are there to be in support roles where we actually work and support an idea. That's fine. Some of us are meant to go in an organization, get a 9-to-5, and support and do well. I think in the world of work, there's a space for all of us that connects with who we are, what interests us, our capabilities, our personality, and our reality in terms of just where we are in life. So you need to say to yourself, when is enough enough? You are the only one who's saying, do I still have steam inside to keep going? I try hustle number 1, I try number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and maybe I say after number 10, nah, I'm good. But it comes back to that issue of the why. When I started the conversation earlier, I said, you need to keep going back to the why. Why does this matter? For me, the inspiration keeps coming, the renewal keeps coming from having seen it in my own family of entrepreneurs who are successful. So when I think about the elders in my family, that's a data point for me. So even when I feel like giving up, I think, how umkhulu, what did they do? They did A, B, C, D, and they were able to keep going. So you need to find your own source of inspiration that keeps you connected to the entrepreneurial journey that you're on, and to also cut yourself some slack. If it's not working, it's okay. There's no shame in saying, you know what, I gave it my all. I'm satisfied that I tried, but it's time to move on and try something else. Bozaz, over to you. If you're speaking, we can't hear you. You want to try again? Our Tiff? Maybe there's something because you look unmuted, but I can't hear anything. No, maybe take out your headphones. Take out your headphones and try speaking and see if that works. I can't hear you. Nothing. I can't hear anything. Maybe something with your settings. Just try again. Okay. Other hands? Or you can type in the chat, try fiddle. I heard something. Try again. No. Okay, you can keep trying. We still have a few minutes. While you do that, I'm going to look at some of the comments. Okay, Natashi, you go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, can hear you clearly.
Okay, so I put my question in the chat, but I just wanted to ask it again. I think I'm curious, it's similar to the last question, but a bit different, just in like, how do we balance our time with the work that pays us and our startup that hasn't yet achieved product market fit? Like, what would you suggest as like practical solutions, because I think it's a bit difficult for me to think about like, oh, I'll just know, or like I'll just trust my gut when I'm like still very new to entrepreneurship. And so I guess like for right now, it's like how do I even like split up the day to day, the week to week?
Okay, great insight. So we all have 24 hours in a day, even Beyonce, 24 hours in a day, right? So in our 24 hours in a day, try and just track what happens in your week. Just basic, like, okay, what time do I typically go and sleep? Okay, I go and sleep from, let's say, 10 p.m. until 6 the next day, okay? And then what do I do? Factor in all the different activities and try and track where are the time wasters, where are the chunks of time that are available for you to be able to focus on this idea that you're trying to nurture. Also put in your job that pays the bills, because you have to be realistic. You know, like I've got to keep the lights on. Okay, cool. But I also have this hard work that I want to do, this passion that I sincerely believe in, but I've got to create time for it. So what does that mean? It might mean there's some weekends where I need to rearrange things. It might mean Saturday morning, I'm going to dedicate an 8 to 11 to work on my idea, and then I do my other things with the family. Or it might mean every day I'm finding 30 minutes, I'm finding an hour to work on my idea and keep building on it, but also take care of myself, because it's like a three-legged pot. It's got to be balanced, right? So you got to be respectful of the work that keeps the lights on. So you give the best that you can there. You need to take care of your health. You need to sleep. You need to eat, fulfill the family requirements, but also create time. So time is your friend. Time is your friend. So when you look at the fact, we have 24 hours. Where am I spending the 24 hours? Okay. Let's see who else has questions.
Hi, Doc. There's a question from Smangele in the group.
Okay,
in the chat.
Smangele, let's see. What is Smangele's question? I can't see.
I can read it out for you.
Okay, great.
It says, how do we build a culture of growth mindset in the company?
A company of growth, growth mindset. Keep going.
That's the rest of it. So it's about,
Okay.
I don't know if Smangele can explain it further, but it's about the culture of growth, yes.
Yes, so growth mindset really is around, because we have to change. We're practicing to be who we want to become. And in the slide deck, you'll see stuff like, how do I receive feedback? So if I get upset when I get feedback, what do I need to change? Maybe I need to get time where I can ask more questions. Maybe I need to just sleep on it before I rush into responding. Maybe I need to let someone else, look at the feedback and say, oh, okay, maybe this is what I need to do differently. Maybe I missed it completely. Maybe before I submit my proposal, someone else needs to look at it, because I'm thinking it's amazing, but someone else is saying, no, that's not it. So that's what one would do. I want to read our chief's question. So it's around persistence versus pivot. When dealing with challenges in a startup, how can you determine whether to persist with your current strategy or consider pivoting to new approach? For example, if you're getting feedback that your product isn't meeting customer needs, how do you decide if you should keep improving it or shift and pivot? What factors should you evaluate to make the best decision? Data, people, trust the data. The numbers don't lie. The numbers do not lie. You can't love it to existence, okay? Your idea might be fantastic for you and your parents, but the rest of the market are like, what? What are you talking about? We don't want that, okay? And maybe the timing. So look at products for vegans. A few years ago, like it wasn't a thing, but now you're seeing vegan bars, it's everywhere. It's so accessible. Think about, in South Africa, for example, coffee wasn't a thing. And now it's like this big coffee culture. So timing is important. Look at the data. And when you've done your market research, you can actually check and say, I think I'm a little bit off key. I need to adjust. And I know it's disappointing because your idea is fabulous. Your idea is amazing and you want it to work. But you're also dealing with other humans who might have different thoughts. David, please go for it.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Perfect. Sharon, thanks a lot for the presentation. Quite insightful, very helpful presentation. Now, as we're discussing the topic of resilience for the entrepreneur, mine is around dealing with transferring or somehow by osmosis giving that same level of resilience to the staff members that you have on board, because as a startup most times you have maybe 1 or 2 3 staff members, and there is a need to actually impart a certain level of resilience that you have into them so that the business can actually have a fighting chance. Now, like recently I was in Kenya trying to establish, because I'm from Uganda, I was in Kenya trying to establish a few networks for purposes of expansion in the near future. And you have to leave the entire Ugandan business or the Ugandan side of the business in Uganda with the people that you're dealing with. So how exactly can you, maybe your first go-to thought on how us as entrepreneurs, as much as we've built resilience, maybe we've been in business for 5-6 years, how can we impart that same kind of resilience into our staff members to see that things can keep going and take off even better?
Thank you. Thank you. Uganda, one of my favorite countries on the continent. So part of the work is you just modeling what you want. So if I say, oh, we must be resilient, hey, resilience, and we're singing that song, meanwhile, when there are issues, you're the first one to throw or have a meltdown or to be overwhelmed and to not actually show up to be what you are preaching, then there is no osmosis that can happen. Because osmosis, regions of higher concentration to regions of lower concentration. And it requires you to actually do your bit to demonstrate what is the right way that we are wanting to show up in terms of this resilience culture that we're building for ourselves. So colleagues, we have come to the end of our time together. It is 12:59. It has been an absolute pleasure talking to you today, working with you and supporting you on your entrepreneurial journey. Precious, over to you.
Thank you very much, Doc. It was a very insightful session. And thank you, everyone. We'll share the slides. I see people are asking for the slides. Don't worry, we'll share them. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and all the best on your entrepreneurial ventures. I trust that everything will go well. You can show proof of life as you exit and say goodbye in your own language. That would be awesome to just hear where you are.
Thank you, Doc.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Kwaheri, asante.
Yeah.
Bye.
Ó dàbọ̀.
Bye-bye.
So in Arabic, it's ma salama.
Ma
Thank you,
salama.
Doc.
Got it.
Bye-bye. In Kikuyu.